Hello, Griffin.
It's here.
I tore his mask off.
Yeah, tear that dude's whole head off. God, this game got so violent.
This game is Persona 5. Welcome. I know, Griffin, you're a big Persona fan. You're excited for this as well.
Yeah, I kind of just hate your fucking guts, Phil.
Because I've been playing it.
Yeah, I know people who have this game, and they've had it for a little bit, and it makes me very pissed off at them.
Technically,
that it's not me.
Technically, I can neither confirm nor deny that I have a full review copy of this game. So if anybody's asking...
Well, that's silly.
This is Persona 5, and
Yes.
it's so rad. Look how stylish everything in this game. So, like, Persona series has always been stylish, but
Yeah,
they
sure.
have really taken it to a new level. Where just
There's not a
everything
single
looks...
UI element that's not just like, let's make this real sexy. Oh, and this is the conversation stuff.
Yeah, so thing that they've brought over from the other Shin Megami Tensei games, now you knock people down when you hit them with their weakness, and when you knock them down, you can either choose to attack or to just talk with them, have a chat.
Yeah.
And you can choose to basically tell them, hey, I want money, I want items, or join me, become my persona.
Become my persona, you dirty two-horned beast.
And this dirty two-horned beast is now becoming my
Bicorn.
persona.
Welcome to the crew, Bicorn. So this is basically like, I think they did this in what, Persona 2? They stopped doing this in Persona 3
Yeah,
and switched to the like random drop sort of way of distributing Persona.
And it's really common in the Shin Megami Tensei games outside of Persona.
Yeah, sure.
Where you have conversations with the demons. Look at this experience screen.
I know, it's
Like,
the best
just-
experience screen.
It's so good. Everything about this is so good.
So, like, okay, I feel like every preview I've watched, and I've watched a lot, so maybe I can help guide us into new waters, has been about, like, how slick and stylish it is, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's apparent looking at it. Like, Persona 4 Golden is my favorite game of all time. How does it stack up? How is what you've played of Persona 5, like, stack up to my favorite video game ever made?
So it's tough because I'm not super far into the game. I'm about 10 to 12 hours at this point. I'm not as like... Okay, so it's hard because I'm not as sold on the crew yet. But I also feel like that's a thing that makes sense because with Persona 4, you really grow to love those people over the, like, 100 hours that game takes.
Well, yeah, the time you spent with them in Persona 4 Gold, Persona 4 Dancing All Night,
Yeah.
Persona 4 the animation, Persona 4 Q whatever labyrinth thing.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard to stack up to that. They're interesting characters though, and what's really interesting about this game is it's all thematically a little bit different. You're playing a character who, you weren't just sent to like live with your uncle or whatever.
Yeah.
You've specifically been sent to Tokyo to live with this person because you stopped an assault. You stopped an assault from happening, but by doing that, the person who was committing the assault basically sued you. And so you're trying to do good. Everybody interpreted that. The horrible adults in your life interpreted that as you doing bad. So now everybody sees you as basically a criminal.
Okay.
All of the characters in the game are kind of like hated and mistrusted. All of them, the teenage characters, are hated and mistrusted by adults.
Well, imagine that. I mean, that is kind of what they go for here.
It's really fascinating and interesting.
Can you explain to me? We just saw some of this stealth stuff, which looks kind of fun. Does that get like tedious at all?
No,
when
so
doing the dungeons.
So far, I'm loving the stealth stuff. The thing that's really interesting about quote unquote stealth in this game, it's not really about sneaking past enemies. It's really about just surprising them. It's allowing you to do an ambush, and a lot of it is very automated, kind of. So I'm gonna try and talk to these guys as well. So like you just tap X and you're gonna jump to the next piece of cover.
Okay.
And as long as you're not like doing that right in front of somebody as they're staring at you, you're gonna be fine.
Okay.
It's very forgiving, I guess is the word I'm looking for. The thing that's really interesting about that whole system is they make it so that, and you might have noticed this a little bit earlier in the video, there was a point when I got caught and a little bar popped up and it said 15%. Basically, if you get caught too many times, your characters get freaked out and leave. They leave the dungeon. So you kind of need to... You need to use stealth to keep your characters in for as long as possible. Again, it's fairly forgiving. It went up 15% from getting caught once, but as long as you then take down a bunch of enemies, it goes down like 5% or so each fight.
Okay.
And here you're seeing a little bit of like puzzle solving as well, which is another thing that there wasn't a lot of in Persona 4. The dungeons are now
bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not like super in depth here from what I played either, but the dungeons are very they're more designed than in Persona 4.
Yeah, they're not like random rooms and tunnels and chests and
Exactly. Like they feel like designed spaces, which is necessary for the stealth stuff and also just feels better to me.
Yeah. So I couldn't be less interested in the dungeon exploring stuff. I mean, I am, whatever. It's like an important part of the game, but like the stuff I love about Persona is the day-to-day activity stuff. And one of the things that I'm kind of curious about, and I'm hoping you can expand on since you've played the game a bit, is how the confidants system compares to like the traditional social links that have been in past games. Is it like a replacement for social links?
It is. Again, I'm only about 10 to 12 hours into the game, so I haven't seen like how the system plays out in full, but what it feels like to me is there are more of them than in past games, and there's a little bit more space for figuring them out. Like, it's a lot harder to just screw up and not have the time to fill one of those out, you know?
Okay.
Which feels like a good thing in the end.
Is school an important part of?
Oh, yes.
You're in school, right? Okay,
oh yeah.
So
you're gonna notice at certain points throughout this video, this is so good.
Yeah, that kicks ass. Holy
I'm gonna
shit.
show off the all-out attack for each character because you get a different splash screen at the end for each of them, and they're all awesome. So yeah, you're gonna notice at a couple of points throughout this. A thing that pops up that says days until expulsion 14.
Okay.
So that's sort of the, you know how
that's the fog.
Yeah, that's the fog in Persona 4. That's the like you need to solve this dungeon, and I don't know how it goes because this is just the first dungeon in the game. Sorry, it's so cool.
That's really good.
I don't know how it progresses in what the excuse is in future dungeons, but that's kind of for the first dungeon. It's like, hey, if you don't figure this out, you're going to get expelled because of some circumstances that I won't get into for fear of spoiling anything.
But I imagine, like in past games, it's fairly easy to get in under that time limit. I remember the first time I played Persona, I think Persona 3 Portable was the first Persona game I played, and I was like, oh my god, what if I don't finish this before the time limit? And it's like, no, you'll finish it with like a month to spare. You're okay.
Yeah, it's very easy as long as you're spending some time in the dungeons. You're also seeing here each character has guns.
Oh, yeah, so tell me about the guns.
It's just another, like, so in addition to magic and melee attacks, there's also gun attacks. You have a limited amount of ammunition that will run out, and I don't think you either need to refill it with items or by leaving the dungeon.
Okay. I had a thing I was going to ask about, and you interrupted me because there were so many guns, and I was surprised by all the guns.
Yeah, a lot of guns.
Do you think this is like an alright like first Persona game for people? Like, I feel like Persona 4 Golden, again, my favorite game ever, is like there's a big old like brick wall of like tutorial, I guess, for lack of a better term, that you have to really bust through that like kept people from falling in love with that game.
The other problem with Persona 3 and Persona 4, problem quote unquote, for a game that I gave a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, sure.
But the other issue that I think a lot of people legitimately bring up is that it takes like 6 hours, 7 hours of getting through dialogue before you get into
to like the dungeons or the first social link stuff. And
like to get to where you have any choice in anything.
Jesus, that's a lot of ponies, dude.
A lot of ponies got summoned here. But what Persona 5 does better is it starts off, it gets you right into the action. It starts off with like an action sequence, then it kind of goes back and does a little bit of the slower stuff. But it does the pacing generally is a lot better at mixing in, like you'll have like, let's say, an hour of dialogue stuff, and then it'll throw you into the dungeon for an hour.
Okay.
And the tutorial stuff is spread out over your first few trips to the first dungeon, so you're not just getting that all at once.
Okay, interesting. Well, that's good to hear. I love that game, but repeated playthroughs are just like kind of a slog for a little bit.
Yeah, and as you can see, like the other thing about the combat in this can move so fast if you want it to.
Yeah, sure.
It's very like it is one of the fastest paced RPGs if you want. Here we're discovering a safe room, and what you're kind of noticing here, the room switching back and forth like this. Mm-hmm. So the dungeons take place; they're in real world settings that have been like transformed because of some mysterious force.
Okay.
So in this case, the setting is it's the school. That's the setting of this first dungeon, but it gets transformed into this weird castle full of evil shadows.
Okay, interesting.
So you'll find safe rooms where the barrier between worlds is a little bit weaker, and you can kind of get, you get to rest, you get to talk to your team and figure out what's going on.
God, look at that fucking
You get to
menu.
save your game, which is, of course, very important.
Yeah, sure.
And you can also warp between save rooms. So this is also like if I wanted to leave the dungeon at this point, which I will at the end of the end of this video. This is where I would like warp back to the dungeon entrance, and then I can warp back here when I return to the dungeon.
So tell me more about like the day-to-day stuff that you can do. Like what are some of the activities that you can do other than, because that's such a huge thing in Persona, is like you can go hang out with your friends, or you can go into the dungeon, or there's like 100 things in Inaba that you
Yeah,
can
I mean,
run.
I haven't even unlocked a lot of them at this point, but there are like, of course, there are books to read. You can go to the school's library and read books for free, or you can go to a bookstore and buy books that you're going to use to then increase your stats, which will, of course, play a part.
Oh, that's back.
Yeah, and the like sort of dice roll, like, are your stats high enough to pass this check situation? And then there are multiple jobs you can do. You can get day jobs and night jobs.
Okay.
There's a lot.
I'm guessing that works the same way. Of like, there's like a day shift where you get to do one thing, and then there's a night shift where you get to do one thing, or
yeah, I think that is my understanding of it at this point as well. You're gonna see here as well. Sometimes you won't talk to the creatures, but they'll talk to you and beg for their lives. I got this Agathion to give me a demon fruit, which I can use to heal up.
Oh, cool.
Which is nice.
Can you customize their outfits? That's important to me.
Not so far.
They got to, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I know that the weapons change, obviously,
Yeah,
based
sure.
off of what you have equipped. I mean, the outfits are a pretty big part of who they are.
Yeah.
You're seeing a little bit more puzzle solving here, which is, I noticed these weird little books, and I'm going to collect them. And then we're going to use them to solve, a very simple puzzle, but more than you would have ever had in Persona 4, I feel like. Persona 4 didn't really do the dungeon puzzles very much.
How do you feel about that cat?
I like the cat.
All right.
I was unsure about the cat at first, but the more I've been in it, the more I like it. Morgana is the cat's name. I don't like Morgana as much as Teddy so far.
Oh, see, I'm not a Teddy guy, and so I was bummed. I thought this might be Teddy 2.0. I just want to be. I just want to make a bunch of friends with high schoolers. I don't want to walk around with a big living teddy bear.
I think
guy.
it's different than Teddy, although there's similarities. Like Morgana does not like being called a cat. Morgana is adamant that she is human.
Okay.
Even though when she goes to the human world, she turns into a cat.
Yeah, so she's a liar then.
Yeah, that's my read on the situation thus
Alright,
far.
so I already am like kind of cool on Morgana. Great.
You're gonna hate Morgana.
Oh no.
You're just gonna hate Morgana's guts. Yeah, we're gonna put in some books here.
Is it really good, Phil? I guess
It's
that's what I'm
really
so,
good.
This has been my most anticipated game of the year for no joke. Like what? 3 years now? When was it supposed to come out? Like fall of 2014?
3 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that. No, it's super good so far. And barring anything changing, I think it's going to continue being very good. It seems like, if you like Persona, this is what you wanted. And if you haven't got into Persona yet, this seems like absolutely the best, like easiest, most accessible starting point. It's a very JRPG, but it's super approachable within that. And I think we're just gonna close off the video here, show off a little bit more combat, and show off leaving the dungeon. But Persona 5's rad. You should play it, Griffin. I think you're gonna like it.
Yeah, I think I might play this one. Question is, can I finish Breath of the Wild before then? Because
Nope.
I can't. I literally, I can't do both of these games at the same time.
Hurry! You've got to
I
hurry.
might actually die.
Scary how good I am. Zoro, show your might. It's almost scary how good I am. It's almost scary how good I am. Finish him. Game over.
Okay. Shadow defeated. That was easy, huh?
to